Hello, I'm Ben Cardenas, and I'm a staff internist at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center and assistant professor at the Uniformed Services University of Health Sciences. In this video, I'm going to dive into two research terms that can help us better understand qualitative methods and strengthen our scholarly communication skills. When I say Emic and Etic perspectives, what do I mean? These two little words capture a really important tension and balance in qualitative research. They describe the different ways we can understand human experiences, from the inside and from the outside. Let's start with Emic. This will be our first circle. The Emic perspective is the insider's view. We will put the observer inside the circle. It's how people within a group, culture, or context understand their own experiences. Emic, inside. For better or for worse, you can tell yourself it's the inside view to help you remember. When researchers take an Emic approach, they try to see the world through the participants' or subject's eyes. They focus on local meanings, language, and values, what something means to the people living it. This includes what subjects do, experience, and report, as well as what their reasons are for their customs. Let's consider an example. Imagine you're studying how new medical interns experience their first overnight call. For data collection, you might choose to utilize interviews or reflective journals where interns describe in their own words what it feels like to be responsible for patients overnight. Their fears, their coping strategies, their sense of identity as doctors forming in real time. The Emic perspective is their understanding of their experience. The goal is to honor their understanding and not impose an outside interpretation too early. Now to the Etic perspective. We will place the observer outside of the circle to represent this perspective, because Etic can be thought of as more of the outsider's view. Etic, outside. They almost sound similar with the T's to help you remember which is which. This is how a researcher, looking from the outside, interprets and analyzes what's going on, often using theoretical frameworks or concepts that may not come directly from the language used by participants themselves. It is the researcher's interpretation of experiences, in an attempt to connect the subject's experiences to broader context or concepts. This is often done with support from established theoretical frameworks and concepts, such as feminist theory, asking how a subject's experience relates to gender identity and gender norms, even though a subject may not mention these ideas directly. Let's go back to our example of the study with medical interns on their first night shift. From an Etic perspective, you might interpret their experiences through a socio-cultural theory of professional identity formation or transformative learning theory, relating their response to conclusions and themes found in past studies on similar or even distinctly different groups. You'd be looking for patterns, structures, and explanations that connect this local experience to broader concepts in education or psychology. Etic is where generalizability of a study is often most developed. So in short, Emic equals insider's meaning, Etic equals outsider's analysis. Good qualitative research often moves between the two. This is the overlapping space in the middle of our Venn diagram. For example, in ethnography, researchers might first spend time immersed in the field, observing, listening, and gathering Emic data, and then later step back to analyze their observations using Etic explanations, concepts, or theories. That movement, from participants' meanings to scholarly interpretation, is what makes qualitative work rich and credible. It's important to note that Emic and Etic aren't good or bad in themselves. They're complementary. An exclusively Emic study might give us a deep, authentic sense of meaning, but risk being hard to generalize. An overly Etic study might impose outside frameworks too quickly and miss the lived reality of participants. Grounded theory strives to avoid this by strictly starting with the Emic perspective and then progressing to the Etic after reaching saturation of subjects' viewpoints. Strong qualitative research and their researchers stay aware of both, recognizing when they're speaking as an insider or as an analyst, and making those positions transparent throughout their writing. So when I say emic and etic perspectives, I'm talking about a dynamic interplay between the voice of the participant and the lens of the researcher, between the meaning lived and the meaning interpreted, between the inside and the outside of any human experience. Understanding both and using them thoughtfully helps us make qualitative research not only descriptive, but deeply insightful.